Okay. And we're back. We're going to do it for Shacknews by giving out the Do It for Shacknews Award. But first, how about we go through the nominees? It's always fun.
Let's.
Yeah, it's a little different from the other awards where we usually are.
And also, this is kind of a nebulous award. Like, what exactly it means to do it for Shacknews could mean something different to each and every one of us. But yeah, we did kind of put our heads together and put together a list here of the nominees. The nominees are, if you're watching this, you probably already know the nominees because you read the article and you actually clicked the link on Shacknews, making you one of the heroes of time. But yeah, we are going to start this off with the Facebook whistleblower, Frances Hogan, nominated for a Do It for Shacknews award. She took a huge risk and leaked hundreds of pages of emails that were internal conversations about Facebook and how they view content moderation, how they viewed hate speech on the platform, how ineffective they are at moderating, and their attitude towards the election. One interesting tidbit from the many leaks, this is a massive leak, maybe the largest leak we've seen of a company this size in a very long time, was that Facebook put in place misinformation filters in the fall of 2020 ahead of the election, and then they removed them this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But to make matters worse, Mark Zuckerberg went in front of Congress after removing them and said that they were still in place. To me, that was the big news about Facebook this year and about the CEO this year that came out of this. Obviously, there's data points about how Facebook was used to organize the January 6th attacks. There was a lot of stuff about Facebook being used by warlords to foment genocide in countries. Facebook groups are being used to do a lot of very, very dangerous things. And there's not a lot of moderation of Facebook groups because those are community-driven things. They're user-generated things. So if you have a bunch of bad people in a group, there's no one really to hold them accountable right now. And that was one of the flaws that she kind of highlighted. She also pointed out those Instagram the Instagram data, where young women who use Instagram are like 80% more likely to be suicidal or depressed. A lot of Instagram users are depressed or made more depressed by using that platform.
Yeah, backpacking on that, Asif. Like, Instagram was being used in some countries. People were selling their children as servants and sex slaves on the black market. And because Instagram didn't have people paying attention to that, and they didn't have the right amount of translators, like, it was just being completely ignored by them. Like, they didn't even comprehend it was happening.
Yeah, one of my largest takeaways from this was that Facebook, which at one point earlier this year was a $1 trillion market cap company, could have been the largest employer on earth if they just decided to actually hire more mods. Because the sheer magnitude of their platform, with over 2.4 billion users, is very hard to wrangle with even 10,000 people, but they're wildly profitable. They could have done this, and they chose not to. And now you get to this point where a platform is too large. It's gotten out of hand. They said it was, I don't have the exact data, but it was less than 5% of instances of hate speech were actually moderated on the platform. And they claimed that they were the best in the world at it. And that's just false. But that's internal language. So yeah, I thought we would kick off the nominations with Frances Hogan. I think it took a lot of courage to do what she did. She's probably never going to get a job in technology again. Which, maybe she was over it. She was a former Googler who went over to Facebook, and it's not like Google's the happiest place on earth or anything, but the internal documents that were leaked are incredibly damning, and yeah, I appreciate what she did there.
I think it's strange to say, especially like, we're a pretty lighthearted site in general. We do cover a lot of serious news, but like out of no disrespect to any of the other people we're going to be nominated, our companies or anything like that, but like she's probably the only person on this list whose life is literally put on the line by what she did this year.
I don't know, because actually the next few nominees I think also took very similar risks. You know, I guess I'll group these three entities together, but we can, if you want to separately nominate or vote for them, you can. A better Activision Blizzard, a better ABK, a better Ubisoft, and Apple II. All these movements are employee movements at tech companies or software development companies where there are no unions. These are organized efforts on the part of employees. Each one of those entities have put out stories about what has happened to them that could get them fired. And in some cases, in the case of Apple, in the case of Activision Blizzard, people have lost their jobs over coming forward and being a whistleblower here. I will say that the SEC has done everyone a favor with their whistleblower protections, but you're still done in the industry once you do this. I don't maybe there's companies out there that do appreciate these people, but for the most part, a lot of these video game companies and software companies are now publicly traded, and they really only care about the almighty profits and their sentiment. You'll notice that Tim Cook has not said a word about the Apple II movement. Not a single word has been said. They've given multiple presentations since this began. They have not acknowledged it on any earnings conference calls or anything. That's super disappointing from Apple. On the Activision Blizzard side, we've seen it. We've been right in the heart of reporting this. They have made a lot of statements. They've said a lot of things. They haven't done much. And then Jen O'Neill's gone. One of the people born out of this controversy. She was elevated to a co-president role at Blizzard, only to be gone less than a few months later.
Because they were paying her less.
Yeah.
Like what the hell?
Like literally, one of the problems was equal pay for equal work. And then when you move to solve that, you pay Mike Ybarra more than her, even though they're doing the same job. And that's an example of how phony some of these responses have been from these corporations.
Yeah, and she said herself, she felt like she was just there to placate the media and she wasn't being listened to. It was a total figurehead move.
And then making matters even worse, there was this famous Francis Townsend email that was sent internally to all the employees of Activision Blizzard that was completely tone deaf and played down everything. It was written by Bobby Kotick.
Mm-hmm.
He straight up lied a few weeks later on the conference call, referring to that email, referring to Francis's communication. So that's that one little bit of that's that one nugget out there where I do think that he may be removed as a result of this movement, and it's because of his own nonsense, his own just dubious behavior to impersonate the person that he put in charge of investigating this.
Yeah, he not only wrote that email, he condemned whistleblowers under the guise of another person.
Yep.
I think it's really important to emphasize what you said about people not getting jobs in tech and software. You're right. Maybe they'll get hired somewhere. But I've worked in places where the number one thing was no bad press. Mm-hmm. And not in online media at all. Like I worked for a company and my whole job was just to make sure that we never showed up in the news. That's it. And if you, for some reason, are going to cause a company to show up in the news, and this applies to all the movements you're talking about, these folks are causing companies to show up in the news for reasons that those companies view are negative. And even the companies out there that may not be dragged through the mud right now for their bad practices, they're looking at that when they're hiring and saying, well, this person could be a problem, and they're not hiring that person. Yeah. Like this is a massive risk by the people that are speaking out because they very well may be in completely new, entirely new industries at this point because they can't get a job with another developer, for example.
And in the case of these first 4 nominations we've made, this is the Do It for Shacknews award. We clearly are not a software developer. Well, I guess we kind of make a mobile app now, but we're not. we're not going to directly benefit from this, but we benefit from this if the people making our games are not miserable, not being put in compromising situations, don't feel bad about being in this industry. I have several friends who have left game development for other software companies and are infinitely happier because for a very long time the video game industry has been a boys club, and not just a boys club, but one with very, very poor leadership. And I think that all these movements deserve credit for what they've done this year.
Actually, Asif, this is probably the area, the movement collectively I feel strongest about. Do you think we could maybe, I don't know if there's anyone else who would support this, but maybe kind of put them under one umbrella?
I was going to ask about that because I mean, it does seem disingenuous to be like, which
yeah, it's not like a better Ubisoft is worse than a better ABK, or ABK2 is better than
like, which movement I'm you know what I mean? Like I support all of them.
And
I don't want to have to like
that's why I did group them together when we were talking about it. So no, I think that's fine. If you want to,
I was actually going to bunch them.
It's about employees' rights. It's about workers' rights.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's fair.
I was actually going to bunch them together for best trendsetter for a category to come a little later, because
that's a good point, Ozzy.
This is something that we fully encourage to continue. Like, we want to see more people stand up for workers' rights and to stand up for what they're worth. And we don't want to see this stop just because it may be getting less coverage from the media or whatever, like, or worse, for it to stop because of fear of retaliation. We want people to stand. We want to see a more just gaming world right now. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but
it's I mean, to your point, it does. And this is a hobby that, Asif, I have friends who worked in game development who left. I've worked in game development. I've been through crunches. And the whole thing about this is it's a meat grinder. I think what a lot of businesses fail, they either fail to acknowledge or they just don't give a shit, which the latter is much more likely, that they are burning through talent who could benefit them exponentially in the future. Everyone who enters this industry, any avenue of this industry, does so because they love games and they want to spread joy and fun.
Yeah.
And to have that wrung out of them it's a shame at best, and at worst it's ethically wrong.
It's sad because we know, like, when you're sitting down to play a game made by some of these companies right now,
Last of Us 2, Diablo 2 Resurrected, yeah.
Or for instance, like, I haven't played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 since all this started.
I did not buy Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is a game near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, and everyone here knows how much I love that game. Like, absolutely love it. But it's hard for me to take joy from something that I know was spawned from suffering. And that's I think what Ozzy's getting at is that we may not have a dog in this race, but we as fans of video games want the people making the games not to be miserable.
And just on the subject of having to choose, I love Resident Evil 4. I really had to wrestle with whether or not I wanted to buy an Oculus Quest 2. And the reason I did is because I wanted to support Capcom and Armature, but it was very, very difficult knowing that I'm also supporting Facebook,
I mean, I said it in an earlier category, like, I stopped playing League of Legends, and I have been on hiatus from Riot Games for a long time because I that started well before any of this. And, like, not to take away from anything that's going on right now, but, like, I'm sick of bad people profiting.
Well, TJ, some of the people in these accusations for Blizzard now work at Riot.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that you bring up Riot here. Riot must be stoked that
Riot.
That it's like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain at Riot right now because boo Activision, like,
they have their own ongoing California lawsuit.
It is a systemic problem in our industry. I'm not saying that every single company has this going on, but these large companies that are largely boys club boardrooms, they got a problem. And it's not, I would not be surprised to see a better EA movement or you know what I'm saying?
I'm waiting for this to happen at Naughty Dog.
Do you remember the Rockstar Wives Diaries? Do you remember that?
That happened with EA too.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's like that. There have been moments like this in the past, but it really feels like we're reaching like a critical point in this movement. I just want to point out something about workers' rights outside of our industry that I think kind of echoes this. Right now, you see these headlines about worker shortages right now, but in reality, what's happening are people are saying, no, my time is worth more than $10 an hour. And I think this year, to Ozzy's point about being a trendsetter, this year really has been about workers' rights and workers standing up and saying, no, I'm not going to go work for you at Wendy's for $10 an hour. And then, David, you've seen it. Those hiring signs have gone from 10 to 11 to 12 to 13. That fight for 15 may have been lost in the election last year, but the workers are continuing it. And that's obviously a different class of worker compared to these game developers. A lot of the time can make up, 6 figures, per year. But
it's very different. I mean, it shouldn't happen, but it feels very different when you're being paid commensurate with your worth, right? Like, at least you can take some comfort from that. It shouldn't happen, but it'd be much different if you were making, I know for a fact, a lot of people at Blizzard, unless you're in the upper echelon, you're making between 40 and 80K in Southern California.
Yeah.
In Orange County. That is barely a livable wage.
No, for sure. And it goes back to that inequity of pay that is prevalent in our industry right now. So
the thing that scares me, but also echoes why this is so important, is that we talked about the meat grinder. There are people growing up, and it's not even just this industry, it's everywhere, and they have real serious concerns about what they want to do for a living and what's going to be worth it. And if we don't have a movement like this that improves the workplace for game developers, less people are going to want to be game developers, and games are not going to be good in the future. And that meat grinder is going to run out of fucking meat.
That's a good point, but like Hollywood is a meat grinder too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and the entertainment industry has a long track record of using and abusing and discarding people. So this is something I've said it before in this conversation. This is systemic. There is a systemic issue here, and this is the only way for it to resolve is a workers' revolt. And the walkout that happened at Activision Blizzard, I think they've done multiple walkouts at this point.
At least 2. At least.
I think those will start to do damage if they actually literally walk out for extended periods of time. Like, I'm waiting for a studio that's right in the heart of crunch that says, no, we're out. And then, then the shareholders get mad. And that's when you actually see change. That's what's disgusting about this situation, is that Activision Blizzard stock is crashing right now. And that's the only reason there's heat under Bobby Kotick's feet right now.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it is an unideal path to something better, but at the same time, like, if this was 2 years ago or maybe 3 years ago, I think in a month or two this might have passed. And I think it's important to see that that the workers keep speaking out, that the investigations keep happening, that when Bobby Kotick tries to say, no, actually, see, I'm actually good for this company, I'm actually working really hard, and you people need to appreciate me, that people are there to say, no, you're fucking not, you're a dickhead, and you need to get out.
Yeah.
Because, they are completely soulless about it. They don't care. They're trying to keep their position. They're trying to keep their money. They're trying to keep their jobs.
It's and this is a company that, like, 2 years ago, I believe they slashed a ton of staff at Blizzard specifically.
It was early 2018, I believe. Yeah.
Sorry, 3 years ago now. And they did it because revenues were slowing. They reported record revenue last year, record earnings last year. It's disingenuous when they say things like that. And they did, Bobby Kotick after the fact says, oh, I'm going to take less money now. after I made hundreds of millions of dollars. Oh, and by the way, I own the stock, so I made a ton of money off of that too. I think it's poetic justice that Bobby Kotick is going to be the reason that Bobby Kotick gets fired here, or let go, or whatever you're going to removed, whatever you want to call it, because it seems very, very, very likely that he lied to shareholders, and that's where the SEC gets involved.
I think what's really disappointing is Asif, this is while you and Blake were in Japan, but I was at Blizzard 3 days before the Blizzchung protests started. Mm-hmm. I was there for reasons, but I right out front they have this huge statue of an orc on a wolf, and surrounding the statue are all of their core values. And you look at that now, and it's like, I think that's a lot of the protests kind of took place around that, because people were saying, what do these values that you've gone and like pounded into the square in front of your huge decadent building here, what do these even mean?
And there's a lot of people have left Blizzard, on their own volition. They said, I'm out. And almost every single one of them posts a selfie right in front of that statue with the core values. Every single one. And that's not a mistake. No, that's a very good point, that how far away they've strayed from their core values, but then their founders are involved in this too.
I was going to say, I can tell you that it's very likely that was all bullshit, because this definitely goes back to Mike Morheim.
Yeah. And Jay and like a lot of people over there have let this happen. Not to get too in the weeds here, but the Cosby Suite is a pretty damning thing. That those pictures from the Cosby Suite kind of show you just how pervasive the attitude was in the upper management of Blizzard. You're right. It was probably always BS.
It always was. You can go back to 1991 when that company was founded. Mm-hmm. Look at the picture of their first group.
Yeah,
it's been that the whole time.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm saying it's systemic. It's not just unique to Blizzard. This is You can go look at the original id Software group, or you could go look at
oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of studios that you can go point to and say, this was a toxic culture. This was a toxic culture. Like, there's even a long read about how toxic id Software was.
And there's probably one almost as long about shit I could not print.
Yeah,
so
for real.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything they want to say about these worker movements before we move on to other nominations?
They're a good case for it's a good case to also carry this over to Best Trendsetter and also to Person of the Year as well.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think so.
So let's put a pin in all that.
And not to leave Frances Haugen out of this, I think she might also be eligible for Person of the Year.
I think she's got my vote for Person of the Year.
Yeah,
I don't know if she's necessarily going to win the Do It for Shacknews award. I just thought her effort was worthy of a nomination.
Yeah.
Obviously, not everyone who we're nominating here is going to win, but this movement, it seems like it's got a lot of people behind it right now.
As far as literally doing it for Shacknews, I mean, we got to talk about IO Interactive as well, and what they've done for us for Hitman 3 and helping us get our name out there and giving us a chance to design some really cool missions. I think it's always cool to see like our name out there. And it goes back to when Rocket League put our flag on that, which is still there. It's still there. We can still get our flag in Rocket League. So whenever something like that comes up, like that's such a cool thing to see, especially for us who've been on the staff for so long, and it just brings joy to our hearts.
Absolutely.
You know what's go ahead.
I think regardless of, some people have been here longer than others, but like everybody here works very hard to get the Shacknews name out there and grow the brand and grow the site.
Thing to Ozzy's point, like having been like I've been here for 7 years. Ozzy's been here longer. Greg, you've been here with me the whole time. David was here before any of us were, and then he came back. The brand is stronger than it's ever been.
Oh yeah.
And that's a testament to everyone here and anyone who's ever worked here.
Yeah.
But the brand is the strongest it's ever been.
Yeah. And I mean, Yeah,
it was really cool though. Like I watched the stream of our Hitman 3 contracts. It's hilarious. And then I've watched speedrunners play it. Like, it's just cool. It's cool to see people like, and they seem to like it. Like, I think you did a great job, Bill. Like, you've created like really fun contracts. And I know we were kind of spitballing ideas together. And I was like, kill the DJ, kill the DJ, kill the DJ.
It really was a lot of fun to make. I was really stressing about it because I was like, man, I'm not that creative. I'm not going to be able to figure something out. But once it got rolling, it was pretty cool. And just talking about it with you guys at night and TJ at night and bouncing ideas back and forth and, blowing up a DJ because, you DJ and it's just kind of funny. And
God bless the army of techno.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I watched people play that level, those missions, and it's specifically and more like prominently the very first contract, and like I did it in like, I don't know, 2.5 minutes or something, 3 minutes, and I was like, part of me was like, I've done this really quickly, and then I immediately paused and went, someone is going to destroy this. And I watched like someone do it in 50 seconds, and I couldn't wrap my head around how it was possible. And had to watch just to learn, like, what are you doing? Like, how is that even possible? And someone beat our contract by putting a blow up, a Napoleon plushy explosive on a railing and distracting a naked man in a rave nightclub so they could push him over the ledge into the crowd. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And every time I play Hitman, I go up and I check out and I see that the Shacknews logo is still sitting there on those contracts and they'll be in the game until it's done.
Yeah, and I don't want to get. I know I've been the Obama giving Obama a medal guy a lot during these deliberations, but Bill actually deserves a lot of credit as well for that, because that was he saw that in the game and he's like, "Can we do this? I want to do it." And like,
that was almost instant. I think right when the game came out, Bill's like, I want to get us some contracts. He's like,
I saw some other media logos in there and I was like, we're not missing. No way. We need to be in there. There's
Bill
no
and
way.
I spitballed that in DMs the moment we saw, like, it was somebody, I forget who we saw, but we were like,
I don't want to name names. I'm just going to leave it. But I was like, if they're in the game, we're going to be in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and I fed TJ every time a Hitman lead came along. It was like, TJ, go to work.
I like running with the game. I'll get a quick nomination out of the way. Gabe Newell for just wishing us happy 25th anniversary.
Gabe Newell for everything that Gabe Newell has done.
Gabe Newell for being Gabe, but also that shout out is legendary. I love that he's like looking at Google image search of himself while he's talking. It's pretty hilarious. But yeah.
In that same vein, I also want to shout out to the Romeros, John and Brenda, for not only wishing us well for 25 years, but also for sitting and talking with us for a while. Like, Greg, how long were you talking with them?
Like 45 minutes.
My goodness. Yeah. See, I mean, they were really interested in our story and everything. And I think they went the extra mile for us. And I really appreciate that.
Well, I would say both Romeros have, like, they've been a part of the industry the entire time Shack has. And internally at id, Shacknews was a website that they visited for a long time. Early in the early days.
You can go back and search John Carmack's .plans, and he references Shacknews several times. He paid attention to Shacknews, aka Sugar Shack, aka Quakeholio, and Blues News because they covered Quake news and only Quake news for a while.
Yeah. So no, it's undeniable.
I referenced those. I cited those in the long read, by the way. There's some crazy recursion going on there with Shacknews references, but
no, for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out Gabe just for being awesome, and we really appreciated that shout out.
We can shout out Gabe Newell and forever. I will.
I don't think many people would have thought of this, but I want to shout out Beyond the Summit for what they've done this year. They're an esports org that have kind of rethought how to do Smash tournaments. They're not opens, they're invitationals, they're vote driven, and they've kind of borrowed a little bit from Dota too, when it comes to how they raise the prize pools. They're all individual players can raise money to get into the thing. You're basically donating on behalf of players to get into the tournament, but you can also just donate to the tournament in general. It ended up being the largest. I think it was the largest Smash Melee prize pool in history, 20 years after the game came out. I just think they deserve recognition for that, and for the way they went about it. You know, they were holding these events in California. I know they did Riptide also, but they held these things in California where the rules are a little more strict when it comes to COVID protocols, and they kept everyone safe. They had everyone, you know, either vaxxed or tested, and nothing bad happened. Like they got through all these events safely. They had folks from Japan, you know, folks from all around the world come together, even at main stage, which like was really, to me, main stage was that moment where I was like, oh wow, offline Smash is like back, you know, because you had T from Japan there, you had MKLeo from Mexico there, you know, you had just the best players in the world finally back together playing. And I just think Beyond the Summit has done an amazing job of that over the past year. As someone who had a Smash Invitational planned and had to cancel it, it's nice to see what's going on in that scene. And I think BTS has done a lot. Not BTS, sorry. Beyond the Summit. I don't want to talk about BTS today. But that's their abbreviation. It's confusing.
I know. That would be cool if BTS put on a Smash tournament, though.
Yeah, like a BTS. Yeah, that'd be.
Yeah.
Now that'd be a crossover, Donna.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got a couple more nominations here. Enkidu, one of our own Shackers. He messaged me earlier this year, and like I don't want to like say exactly what he said, but he thanked me for creating Cortex because it helped him get through the pandemic. It was something that it gave him a way to express himself and express his love for Quake in this instance. He wrote a series of articles called /Quake about mods, levels, all sorts of cool stuff. And it got to the point where I think it was like 8 articles deep or something, and we're like, hey, this is a long read. So we literally created a long read out of his series of Cortex articles, and using Cortex is definitely doing it for Shacknews. To the point where you have a series of articles that are worth a long read, that's extremely doing it for Shacknews. And then we even uploaded, kind of as a tip of our cap or our fedora back to our old days as File Shack, we even uploaded a lot of the things he's talking about in one place. So /Quake is really a first for us, where the downloadable content that we have in that long read is not necessarily just an EPUB file, or you know, it was actually the content that he was talking about in the long read, which is something that you can't do on Cortex necessarily. Yeah, Enkidu definitely deserves high praise for what he did this year for Shacknews. We appreciate you.
Oh yeah.
What else do we got? Yeah, Playground Games. Now this is kind of debatable now, I think, because I'm nominating Playground Games because Forza's, and I'm going to combine the two things. The accessibility settings and the amount of care that they took into representation and diversity for their characters outside of voice acting is very impressive. I really think that they went very far, like with prosthetics, with gender identities, the amount of customization that you have to your character in Forza Horizon 5 is not maybe unprecedented or anything, but I think it sets a bar for a lot of other game companies to follow.
The most diverse set of British people you'll ever see.
Yeah. That's for sure. But yeah, I thought that they had made some things worth recognition.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not, yeah, like you said, they're not really the first to do it, but I think they're the first to encompass as much as they could. I think they like cherry picked a lot of features,
and
there are some new to them. You really don't see the prosthetic limb options in a lot of games, and I think that's really thoughtful of them. Yeah, but Yeah, it's a culmination of a lot of progress, and like it's that they put that much thought into it.
And Microsoft has
Shows.
done amazing work on accessibility, with their controller,
controllers.
And I just think Microsoft and Playground deserve some credit for that. I'll also say Ubisoft had an amazing year when it comes to accessibility. We're gonna have a different category for this year. It's the first time we're gonna talk about it, so we'll save that for that one. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out Playground Games, not necessarily for their game, for the accessibility and representation that they strived for in that game, and still do. Like I think that's a game a year from now that they may have even more features in it that'll surprise and delight people. But yeah, I just want to shout out Playground. Let's see who else we got. Sakurai, Masahiro Sakurai. He did it. He finished making Smash, and that is by far. Think about how many page views we've gotten off of Smash Minutes.
Yeah,
it's a fair argument.
That's the most compelling argument you've made all day. I might be here for that.
It's like the night before Christmas for.
Thank you for the SEO.
That man has created some of the most read news articles in the history of our website. No, we talked about him in a previous category, but I really do think what he did this year was impressive. What he's done for years is impressive, but I think the culmination of that journey is really something worth noting. So I felt like he was worthy of a nomination here.
The Swan Song.
Yeah. And then one last nomination, and this it borders on that patting yourself on the back thing, but it's not. We're nominating a company that is not owned by Shacknews. I don't own any part of this company. We contracted them to build Shack Pets. They're called Log Cabin Devs, and we know a lot of the people over there. I've worked with their CEO. I have worked with him in some capacity in games media since the year 1999. So this is someone I've known for a very long time, and I think the work they've done with Shack Pets has been amazing. We've faced a lot of adversity in the last year, and as a team, I think we've done an amazing job together. I think they deserve a nomination.
Glad you brought that up, because I know a lot of folks, I sit on those meetings with you, and I know that you have even more meetings that I've not been a part of that definitely were more high stakes. But the position that they were in, without getting into detail, was really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were in a really tough spot, and I can only imagine that, it must have been extremely stressful for them in that position. Like you said, the way that they've kind of bounced back, and just the responsiveness too. When's the last time that we were like, "Hey guys, can you give us a hand?"
Mm-hmm.
When have they said no? Never. And they always deliver. Yeah, I agree with you. I really think that, the tech side of Shacknews and the Shack Pets app are both, first of all, the tech side's better, than it's been. And second of all, the app is pretty awesome. And even you acknowledge, just the stability was higher than expected with, the launch and whatnot. And I think that's a credit to them. But it's been super cool, and I was glad that people made that nomination, because I don't think that it's easy to kind of just overlook it, but they deserve recognition for just the dedication that they've put into it, and being there for us. So
yeah, I mean, if Skankor won last year, and he was live streaming on our Twitch channel, and I feel like it's different. It's obviously a lot different. I think it's okay, because the capacities are doing it for Shacknews.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I said, this is a nebulous category. Yeah. But quite literally, they did it for Shacknews this year. You could argue they probably did it for Shacknews more than anyone else this year. The workers' rights movement, to Ozzy's point, may be better fit for the Trendsetter of the Year award.
Yeah.
Not that we don't appreciate what they've done. We appreciate every single nominee in this category, which makes voting on this harder than I would say most other ones. because I really think every one of these, I think folks should take a Do It for Shacknews Award nomination as an award, because you are being honored on this list of excellent people and entities.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was going to say, even, I mean, they may or may not win Log Cabin Devs, but I think they're a perfect nomination, though, right? Because that's what the nominations are for. They're recognizing, I mean, people always say it's an honor to be nominated. Like, is more or less a shout out for the hard work they did, and whether they win it or not.
If you watch this deliberation here versus every other deliberation almost that we do, what you see is like just fists flying in other deliberations and whatnot. And this one, it's just like there's no disparaging any nominee, because every nominee deserves to be recognized and built up and positive, and they're all doing it for Shacknews. And then
whoever wins this, you got amazing company. You're there with Panic Button, Mark Rebier, Skankor. It's really something.
I'm glad you brought up Skankor, because one more that I want to give a nice shout out to is our Wide World of Electronic Sports hosts, who have helped reformat the show this year. We didn't know, like, that show was up in the air at the start of the year, and between Brian and Phil and Rodney, like, they've done a great job with it, and also Krabs and Denny for helping out as well. So want to definitely mention them as well.
Yeah.
So, any other nominations? No,
might have covered all of our bases.
All right, I'm gonna start voting with Chris. Who you got?
I think I'll go with Facebook whistleblower Francis.
Okay. Blake.
Man, it's tough. It's really tough, but I think that the spirit of the award, it should, like when I look at like past nominees and past winners, like I feel like Log Cabin should get my vote.
Mm-hmm. Bill.
You're muted, Bill.
You're muted, Bill. No, you're not.
It's my first time using the internet. You know what? I know I nominated IO, and I appreciate everything about that, but I can't. Like, Log Cabin is the definition of Do It for Shacknews this year.
Z?
I'm gonna stay with IO Interactive.
TJ.
You know, something I've been thinking about this whole time with IO is that, like, somebody brought up the Rocket League flag, or Ozzy brought up the Rocket League flag earlier. And one thing that occurred to me, and also if this is something that you've said at one point too, nothing against Psyonix, but they have Epic Games money now. So there's no telling what they would say if we approached them nowadays with like, could we be on a flag in your game? IO Interactive also has that level of notoriety where, like, everybody knows what the Hitman series is. They've been pumping that thing out for years. They've been doing such a great job with it. They left Square Enix to do it on their own and found more success than they ever did under Square Enix. And they didn't have to put us in their game. It didn't boost them any more than I mean, nothing against our platform. We do what we do, and I think we do it well. But, like, it was really, really cool for them to actually accept us into the game and accept us into their featured contracts. So I got to give it to IO.
Yeah, Greg.
Man, there's so many points between Log Devin and IO. Like, they both make the definition of Do It for the Shacknews Award. That's it's tough. Can I abstain and see what the other two votes are?
You just pass for now?
Yeah, you can pass for now. Wait, yeah. Donovan.
I'll go Log Cabin on this one. That was close. Even when you started asking people, I didn't know which one I was going to vote for. But I'll go with Log Cabin Devs for this one.
Leaves David.
Yeah, you know, I was. I think the workers' rights movements will get my vote for another category we've discussed. But really, when I think about just what I know, which isn't even a fraction of what other people on the staff know about what Log Cabin's been through, it kind of falls under that umbrella almost. So I'm going to vote Log Cabin.
Greg?
Yeah, I'll do Log Cabin, because like I think I'm going to vote for the workers' rights stuff in other categories.
I think that I think that it was important to bring up the workers' rights movement in this category. They definitely deserve nomination. But yeah, I'm also gonna vote for Log Cabin Devs. Like we can't thank them enough for what they've done this year for us and what they'll continue to do. You know, like when we ship Shack Pets, I had no like the reason it tells you how many matches there are in a day was because we thought no one was going to use the app. So we've had meetings since then where we're talking about 6,500 matches a day or 8,000 matches in a day, and we're like, we're going to get rid of this counter because we were all too pessimistic about the launch. Like we were just we had been through the ringer making this app, and we're on the other side now, and it really does feel good. And I know from talking to them that they're very proud of what they've done this year. So yeah, I'm also gonna join everyone who voted for Log Cabin. That's it. That's 6-2 to 1. Like I said, I think Francis Hogan might show up in another category too.
Absolutely.
Every single one of these, every single nomination deserved to vote. You know, and that's why these deliberations are hard at times. Not just because you're mad that your game didn't get in, but like you want to honor all of these entities and people. And yeah, IO Interactive did an amazing thing for us this year.
Yeah, they all deserve a W. They all deserve that.
So yeah, this that's why we publish the nominees for this before we announce the winner. It's the one award where we do that. So yeah, that's it. We got Log Cabin Devs. You are the winner of the Do It for Shacknews Award of the year 2021.
Yeah.